want to be able to just get, I don't want to have to get a fucking yellow cab or call some absurdly expensive black car service. Yo, the Gravel Institute fucking released a new video. It's called The Most Dangerous Law in My Lifetime. And I want to watch it with you and talk about it a little bit. So here we go. Gravel Institute is Pog. I love violins.
I did.
Great. Have you ever heard of Proposition 22?
No, I didn't.
Are you familiar with Proposition 22?
Yeah.
No.
I don't know the ins and outs of Prop 22, unfortunately.
Not off the top of my head, no.
No, I don't. No, sir.
No. No.
In California, everyone from Uber drivers to Instacart delivery workers are classified as independent contractors. They are the backbone of the gig economy.
Same with New York and Pennsylvania.
State. In 2019, California enacted Assembly Bill 5, a law to improve working conditions for those workers, essentially classifying them not as independent contractors, but as full employees.
AB 5 passed despite the incredibly aggressive lobbying of these very powerful tech firms. It was really an example of democratic lawmaking.
In order to carve themselves out of the newly passed Assembly Bill 5, Doordash, Lyft, and Uber put forth an initial $90 million towards a new ballot measure, Proposition 22.
To give you a rough idea of what is on the line when it
I've
comes
needed to educate myself more thoroughly as to like how these fucking like how these things have actually been like affecting gig economy drivers, because it's like I know from actually working as one, being like one of these drivers for one of these like internet companies like Uber or DoorDash or Instacart or whatnot. It's like an extremely exploitative relationship. However, I also could have totally seen having them classified as full employees completely fucking them over as well. And it being like a no-win situation. Fucking... Let's keep watching this, though.
Unemployment insurance, minimum wage, OSHA protections. It's so many things that are not just how much you're paid and what hours you get.
They were going to go to the ballot no matter what, whether AB 5 existed or not, to make an exception for their industry so they can continue to profit while the workers suffer and the taxpayers. When a worker doesn't have health insurance, when a worker doesn't get minimum wage, when a worker doesn't have workers' comp, we pay for it. So we're basically subsidizing billions and billions of dollars that these companies are making off of Californians.
They poured $200 million into a massive commercial advertisement mailing campaign. They actually made it look like they were doing this to protect their workers.
Proposition 22 was advertised as this bold new law that was going to give all of these new benefits, and the campaign did a really
paid for
good
by
job
fucking
of
Lyft.
instrumentalizing race.
Of course.
They had women of color who represented themselves as single moms, immigrant men talking about how they couldn't survive off of their full-time job and how they
Yeah, of course they played the like, liberal capitalist Paul. That those cynical cynical liberal interpretations and implementations of identity politics to ultimately create like
really
negative
the
change.
Flexibility of this work. And so the law was advertised as actually something that would provide new benefits to this very, very vulnerable workforce, as opposed to something that would take away benefits from the workforce. And in fact, that is exactly what the law did. The two buzzwords that the Yes on Prop 22 campaign really relied upon were independence and flexibility.
But again, I signed up for Uber because of the freedom and the flexibility.
If you vote yes, you're keeping that flexibility. If you vote no,
That's why I did this shit originally, too. I got baited by it. I got fucking jebaited by it. The way it was in my hometown, it actually wasn't all that bad for a little while, and then some business transactions were made, and shit just like, and the market got oversaturated with drivers, and it went to shit, and yeah. I moved.
You're kind of eliminating that flexibility.
One thing that's important in California, I think we can all agree on, is the need for Uber and Lyft.
Vote yes on Prop 22.
Vote yes on Prop 22!
Oh, fuck you, Logan Paul, you fucking douchebag. Who the fuck are the... What? Of course these fucking douche tubers are going to have some bullshit to say about this.
They were...
I want to be able to just get... I don't want to have to get a fucking yellow cab or call some absurdly expensive black car service.
Constantly bombarding drivers with this information that if they didn't vote yes on Prop 22, if Prop 22 didn't pass, then their scheduling flexibility was going to be completely taken away.
I mean, I'm not really big on politics, but from what I understood on the commercials, California is trying to get us to become employees of Grubhub and things like that. I just want to stay an independent contractor and just keep on doing what I'm doing, work when I want. If I want to take the weekend off, I'll take the weekend off.
What was shocking, I would say, is some of the tactics that they were willing to resort to. Things like having us affix propaganda to the deliveries that we were making, including propaganda that we had to, hit okay or I agree
Holy shit.
Before we were able to move on.
This is so dystopian. Holy fuck, if this kind of shit had gone down in the market where I was working, oh my god, I would have raised a fucking shitstorm about it too. I haven't really been paying enough attention to this whole fight over the classification of gig economy workers out in California, because that could lay a precedent for the rest of the country.
And continue to do the rest of our work.
As soon as you open up the app, you have a big screen that says vote yes on Prop 22, and this is why. If you don't vote yes on Prop 22, we're gonna leave California, we're gonna schedule your hours, you're gonna lose your flexibility, you're only gonna drive certain amount of hours. I mean, they were saying so much stuff, they were scaring drivers. If the only sort of income is Uber, you're gonna be afraid that you're gonna lose your job.
One of the other tactics that this campaign used quite effectively was harassment and intimidation. People who supported Prop 22 doxed me on the internet.
I've done political activism for 20 years at this point, and this was the most intimidated I have ever felt.
Old school union busting tactics.
Jesus Christ.
The factories are going to close if we don't get what we want. That's exactly what that is. Only they were able to reach people instantaneously through these apps.
Even if
And we watched another Gravel Institute. Maybe I'll play that one again after, just for a refresher after we watch this one. But yeah, when you have those, when you're working for these apps, when you're working in the gig economy, you're not you don't have this flesh and blood boss. Your boss is the fucking algorithm. Your boss is a goddamn piece of code. And it's almost more insidious. It's even fucking more dystopian you don't have this flesh and blood boss, but you find yourself being a slave to a fucking algorithm. And hell, this is especially applicable for people who make their fucking living streaming on Twitch and putting shit on YouTube.
the height of the pandemic, while these companies were messaging we care about workers so much and we want to increase standards for them that Prop 22 would enshrine somehow, they were still failing to meaningfully provide any kind of protection to gig workers, even though we were deemed essential.
Yep. It was fucked up.
I think, and Shaped probably are two of the most egregious in that we're going into a hotbed for COVID, grocery stores, and we have no meaningful access to any kind of protection to keep ourselves safe, while Instacart is growing exponentially and profiting off of the pretense that we're going to keep our customers safe. I didn't have access to things like hand sanitizer or disinfectants. I was literally spraying my hands with Everclear to try and keep them clean while I was working.
Everyone else else was able to file for emergency unemployment insurance, and Uber and Lyft drivers were stuck in a limbo because these companies have not paid millions of dollars into state unemployment insurance taxes.
It was very hard for drivers to get help, to get unemployment. A lot of drivers gave up. Yeah, it was a woman, actually, she couldn't wait anymore, She started driving.
Jesus Christ.
She caught COVID, and she was dead within 3 weeks.
Fuck. Yep.
The only way to combat.
Yeah, these are the people that, COVID-19 has especially killed shitloads of. These people who are in these situations where this ultra capitalistic society that we have built just utterly fails to it serves so well so few, and then leaves the people who actually make it possible, leaves them to fucking die.
That the misinformation campaign from the companies was getting them real data and real information about what the consequences of Prop 22 would look like.
Rideshare drivers packed the streets in opposition to Prop 22.
Drivers against Prop 22 hit the road with a message.
When you work with Uber and Lyft, what have they done for drivers over the years?
I'm asking my friends and family to vote no on Prop 22 because they support worker rights over corporate greed.
We were weeks and weeks after weeks making phone calls, calling other drivers, calling the general public, sending text message.
Reality is there's no way we can match the money, but we do have the people power. Drivers are coming together to demand their rights, and that's what we have. We have drivers with their authentic voice, not paid spokespeople, who have actually driven for Uber and Lyft, who know that their employee status is important and that they deserve paid sick leave.
California propositions now Prop 22. This is the big one. Uber and Lyft want this to pass. And as of right now, NBC News is projecting that Prop 22 will pass.
No matter how strong criticism from gig worker activists was, the influence of gig work companies was stronger. Proposition 22 passed with 59% of the vote.
Will you do this in other states?
So absolutely. I think that the next step is to work with politicians, regulators, drivers, and potentially labor leaders, hopefully, across the country to bring this to more places.
One of the pieces of the proposition that was unheard of was that it requires a 7/8 majority of the California legislature to pass anything related to workers' rights. What is really key to understand is how amazingly anti-democratic this is.
7/8 is insane.
I've said it before and I'll say it again, Proposition 22 is the most dangerous piece of legislation that I have seen in my lifetime. The possibility for us to spread this to other industries, it's retail, restaurant work, healthcare, and education.
Eventually, if we don't wake up, if we don't fight against these big corporations, eventually everything is gonna work through an app. If Uber and Lyft were able to write their own law, what's preventing from Walmart, Home Depot, Target to do the same thing?
Drivers for supermarkets.
It sets a really fucking sketchy precedent for this Prop 22 will definitely set a really sketchy precedent if it creates such an easy way around these companies to weasel their way out of, they're technically independent contractors running their own business, even though they're entirely bound to our framework. And so, yeah, fuck them with paid sick leave or any actual protections employees get. And after we watch the video, I want to say a few things about my whole experience with the gig economy and whatnot, but that can wait until the video is done.
It's all over California will soon be out of a job. Albertson's companies plan to let go those workers and instead use independent contractors.
There had been so many assurances that this wasn't going to disrupt labor markets, that it was just going to improve conditions for workers coming from the Prop 22 campaign. That turned out very quickly to be a lie.
Is it fair to have companies like yours essentially setting labor law across the country?
No, it's not the role of a company to set labor law. You know, I wish you could get all money out of politics and just have good conversations, but there's money on both sides. There's influence on both sides.
Although, let's be fair, the pro forces spent more than $200 million on Prop 22. The con forces spent not even $20 million.
Yeah, if you look at it that way, that's fair.
There's an ad for Instacart that I've seen a lot lately that I think represents exactly what's going on with these gig economy companies. You see all the
Instacart was literally like, hey, I'm some, like, I know that there were people that this wasn't the situation, but so much of it was like, especially during the pandemic, was like, hey, I'm some like person with a bunch of money to blow, who's like really afraid of leaving my fucking house for like no actual good reason. I'm gonna get this like overworked, grossly undercompensated working class person to take all the risk for me.
these families spending quality time together, not spending time going to the grocery store. And then towards the end, you see this shot of someone carrying groceries, except it cuts off at their neck. So it's literally removing...
And then it shows them from the back of the head. Holy shit. Yeah, it's literally just dehumanizing the people who are doing the work. Being like, don't view... Hey, look at us. We're Instacart. We don't view the person getting your groceries for you as a human. View them as your worker drone. View them as your personal, like, manservant. Yeah, that's really fucking damning how they edited that ad.
The personhood of the person who's delivering your groceries in order to give this benefit to this middle-class family so that they could have more time.
If this is something that scares you as much as it scares me, I think that there is a lot that we need to do immediately to mobilize to ensure that Proposition 22 is upended on the federal level. I'm really excited about the possibility of the PRO Act, which would perhaps most centrally make clear that all working people have the right to organize with one another to raise wages and working conditions. The only way that we can stop this from just getting worse, stop the United States from deteriorating to a place it was during the Great Depression, to address food insecurity, to address housing insecurity, to make sure that people's quality of lives is what they should be in the wealthiest country in the world, is to pass the PRO Act. The workers that are impacted by Proposition 22 are doing everything they can in their limited power to ensure that that happens, and we just need more people to stand behind it.
We need to pass the PRO Act. Hey, that's me. Yep, I'm a pay piggy for Gravel Institute. I'm one of their Patreon patrons. I'm some, like, really low level, though. I'm not, like... I think, like, the Boulder is the highest level where you contribute some gigantic amount of money and then you get to, like... And then you get, like, a fucking personal phone call with Mike Gravel himself. But anyhow. Yeah. I definitely support the PRO Act. Fuck Proposition 22. That shit is absolute garbage and sets a really bad precedent Oh, right here in the comments also, yeah. Every time people try to say that California is some sort of Marxist state, and then, like, you know, they pass fucking ballot measures like Prop 22, it just, like, it makes me fucking laugh cry. Anyways, I just wanted to add my, like, 2 cents to all this, having been a guy who made his living for a little while doing, like, the fucking gig economy stuff. I totally understand why the, like, freedom and flexibility stuff works so great. It was so great not having to, like, if I wanted to, like, plan to do cool shit, not having to, like, ask, hey, boss man, can I, like, have the day off? Or other shit like that. I was often able to like do something similar to making my own schedule at the very least, if not just working whenever the fuck I wanted. In the college town I grew up in, it could actually be quite profitable because it was like an active market, but everything was very condensed. It wasn't like being an Uber driver in Los Angeles, which I hear really sucks balls because you like take people not even very far distances and spend an enormous amount of time doing it because of how bad traffic is all the time there. And, but yeah, it was like, you gain these things such as like, you know, not technically being your own boss and having all this freedom and flexibility. Yeah, and then you didn't get any of the fucking protections that you get. Like, I don't think you didn't like really qualify for unemployment if you like got the contract terminated because you were technically considered like running your. Actually, I don't know. Maybe there were certain circumstances where you did qualify, but it was like, yeah, you're basically considered to be running your own fucking business contracting with these firms rather than being an employee of them, even though you de facto were an employee of them because you were like using all their shit and whatnot. But, yeah, back when I was doing this kind of work, I would usually work like fucking 60 or 70 hour weeks. I made an okay amount of money and I had plenty of fun with the disposable income whenever I like had the free time, but it was still like it was grueling long hours to be able to like fucking pull enough money to scrape by. There was no like means of getting it. There weren't like health insurance benefits or anything, which why the fuck is that even like really a concept here? But that's a topic for another fucking segment another time. It's just really another indictment of the state of our whole healthcare system in general, but, yeah, it was the, I'm, like, losing the words to say about this now. Because I have, like, a personal connection with this stuff, and that's why I especially care about, like, gig drivers getting better treatment. It's after getting out of the whole gig economy thing and also not being in California, I didn't experience any of this type of weird like constant propaganda. That definitely is the most like, that's some actual fucking 1984 shit. That is dystopian as hell. All in all, the whole gig economy thing, it ever just further and further serves every day, like proves itself more to just be serving the purpose of proving that we live in some absurd capitalist dystopia. And it's only like on the path of getting more and more fucking capitalist. And while I don't think it's like the fucking greatest thing on earth, the PRO Act is definitely something that can help, to at least somewhat alleviate it and maybe provide a stepping stone legislatively for us, the working populace, to use as a jumping off point to like do more measures to try to ultimately break the fucking hegemony of the capitalist class and get more ownership of the economy in the hands of the actual workers who actually produce all the fucking wealth for these fucking parasites. Yeah, that's right. How Uber is scamming you. That's the video we... Here, let's watch this again just for the refresher.
Among the pantheon of corporations that have emerged out of Silicon Valley, Uber occupies a special place. The company is worth $100 billion.
This is a little bit older, but this is the reason why we need things like the PRO Act, even more than that little mini documentary we just watched.
Hundreds of billions of dollars worth of trips and delivery orders have been booked using its app. It gets tens of billions of dollars in revenue each year. Uber is everywhere, and the narrative of Uber is also everywhere. It says that Uber is innovative, that it can disrupt the taxi industry and make money doing it, and that it can offer flexibility and opportunity to its army of drivers.
I used to do this.
There's one problem. None of that is true. Let's start with one basic fact. For a company so prominent, there's something
Now, I've never worked for a fucking yellow cab company, but, yeah, I've never worked for a yellow cab company, but I used to be an Uber driver. Man, yeah, it did really start seeming pretty fucking inefficient.
very strange. Uber has never, not once, turned a single profit. You might be confused. How can it be that such a large company with such a popular service has simply never made money? When you find out the answer, you discover something important. You discover that Uber is fundamentally a scam, a company that exists to scam its investors, its users, and most importantly,
this is truth.
Despite everything you might hear, Uber is not a technology company. While the company may brag about its sophisticated algorithm, in reality, Uber is just another taxi company. There's nothing fundamentally more efficient.
Yeah, the only reason why Uber is a technology company is because of a bunch of legalese bullshit. Oops.
About Uber than there was with your local taxi service. The business is the same. There's no real way to innovate someone driving someone or something from point A to point B. Using an app to match riders with drivers is so simple that local taxi companies do the same thing. In fact, Uber is less efficient than taxi companies. Most normal taxi companies don't spend huge amounts on marketing or lobbying or corporate headquarters. They don't pay their CEO $45 million a year. Uber has higher costs than traditional taxi operators in every category except fuel. So why is Uber everywhere while taxi companies go out of business? It all goes back to Uber's master plan. First, with massive amounts of money,
just create some, yeah.
Uber subsidized significantly cheaper rides than what taxi companies could offer to attract customers away from them. Then, after years of undercutting competitors and driving them to bankruptcy, resulting in a wave of suicide.
This isn't like a flaw of capitalism, this is a fucking feature of it too.
By cab drivers, Uber established near monopolies in local markets. Now, Uber is often the default way to get around if you don't have a car. And once Uber has eradicated its competition, it can make itself profitable at expense of users and drivers, raising its fares to what taxis offered or higher, while pushing down drivers' wages. The plan is not efficiency, it's monopoly. And that's not just me theorizing. A 73-page article in the Transportation Law Journal took a deep look at Uber's business and concluded one thing. Uber has no ability, now or in the foreseeable future, to earn sustainable profits in a competitive marketplace. Uber's investors cannot earn returns on the money they invest without achieving levels of market dominance that would allow them to exploit anti-competitive market power. So that is Uber's grand plan. It is not increasing the productivity or efficiency of the industry that it's in. It's subsidizing its rides with venture capital cash until it can build a monopoly and do whatever it wants. So users who buy Uber's narrative may be getting scammed, but no one is getting it worse than Uber's workers. So, Uber relies on classifying drivers as independent contractors. In the United States, that means an individual provides services to a company, but is independent of the company and its control. Uber says that because drivers can choose what work to accept and for how long, they're
this is what I was talking about earlier involving the flesh and blood of a boss thing.
Fully independent. Now, most of Uber's workers drive part-time, but they actually do relatively little driving, and 90% of them quit each year. The majority of Uber's labor is done by a smaller group of workers who drive full-time for the company. So who are these drivers?
What I did was I would, like, deliver fucking food when that was profitable. I'd often have Uber and fucking, like, Grubhub and whatnot turned on. I would deliver food when that was profitable, and I would take rides when that would make me more fucking money. And Uber Eats. I fucking hated Uber Eats, though. Uber Eats was easily the biggest fucking screw job of easily the biggest screw job fucking ripoff of every goddamn, like, food delivery service like that in my town. The Uber Eats orders didn't pay out jack shit compared to even, like, Grubhub orders.
In cities like New York, the vast majority are immigrants from places like India, Bangladesh, and Haiti. They desperately need cash to support their families and send remittances back home.
Yep.
These are people at the very margins of our society. And how does Uber treat them? Uber treats them like a pool of cheap labor, easy to exploit and then discard. Uber's always been clear about one thing. It does not care about its drivers. At Uber's
Yeah, and that's not exactly like an innovative way to approach. That's not innovative by any means either. Because that's literally what capitalists have been fucking doing the entire history of the United States since we became, like, super industrial and started attracting shitloads of immigrants and whatnot. And then before that we were like that too, but before that our economy was significantly more agrarian, so it's a little bit, the material conditions are a little bit different, that's all.
Green light centers where drivers register with the company, they were not even allowed to enter bathrooms reserved for employees. In fact, when Uber was talking about how it would become profitable, it stated clearly that it wanted to get rid of its drivers and transition entirely to self-driving cars. But Uber's technology
I remember
so bad that after
when that
burning
was
billions
going
of
on.
dollars, it had to give up. So for now, Uber is stuck with its drivers.
Oh, Jesus Christ. I forgot that Uber straight up, like, gave up on their fucking self-driving car thing because it was, causing too many controversies versus how much money they were spending on it.
In order to appear like it's coming closer to profitability, it's been cutting their wages since 2015. Whenever Uber increases its cut from each trip or reduces the minimum rate for drivers, its margins improve by that much immediately. As a result, Uber drivers regularly earn less than the minimum wage. After taking hidden costs like fuel into account, the average Uber driver earns a little over $9 an hour, about 50% less than what taxi drivers made before Uber. In fact, half of Uber drivers live at or below the poverty level. 20% of them have to use food stamps to survive. Unable to afford a home, some drivers even sleep in their cars. Drivers with nothing to their name get trapped in predatory car rental schemes promoted by Uber. They garnish your wages until you've paid it off with interest.
Yup, yeah, those whole getting cars financed by Uber thing, you were literally just making yourself a fucking wage slave for Uber. It was... I can't believe that shit's fucking legal.
One study from Georgetown found that a third of drivers reported falling into a debt trap. Some ended up earning less than $5 an hour.
Jesus.
Because its drivers are technically independent contractors, Uber can avoid pesky requirements.
Couldn't live off of that
wages,
20 fucking years
health
ago, let
insurance,
alone now.
or paid sick leave. Drivers can't unionize to bargain for better conditions. Uber has all the power, and it makes sure it can stay that way. When California tried to classify drivers as employees, Uber spent hundreds of millions of dollars on a campaign to overturn it with a ballot proposition
Prop 22
written by Uber's lawyers. And even though Uber talks about flexibility, that's not what drivers actually experience. Drivers may not have physical bosses to order them around, but they're ruled by something even worse.
The algorithm.
An algorithmic overseer that's more intrusive than any flesh and blood boss could ever be. Uber's only actual innovations are in surveilling and disciplining its workforce. They're always watching, monitoring driving behavior, calculating fraud profiles, using invisible secret functions to discipline drivers as well as customers. Fall below an arbitrary threshold for ratings? Fired. Reject too many trips because you don't want to lose any money? Fired.
Yep.
Did a customer make a false report? Fired. So that's the freedom that Uber offers. It frees drivers to make below minimum wage, to sleep in their cars.
Yeah, that's real fucking freeing, right?
And work themselves to the bone. But at the end of the day, Uber, like other gig companies, is an innovator. Not in technology, but in exploitation. It's leading the war against labor in ways other companies never thought possible.
True.
Oversees a pool of
This is how they're an innovator. They're an innovator, but an innovator for negative social change.
Writes its own regulations, and has done it all without earning a single cent of profit. Imagine what sort of world they'll need to start making one. I'm Edward Ongweso Jr., staff writer at Vice for the Gravel Institute.
Yeah, just wanted to show you that, Tians. We watched that on the channel before, but just wanted to go over that as a refresher to complement that mini documentary we just saw. And my whole ramble about my experiences with the insidious algorithm, and I don't make jack shit for money on Twitch right now, but or YouTube, but if I was making my living doing those, I would definitely feel the same way, and I'd actually be very interested to hear other creators like their experience, how they feel like that's affected them. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed what you just saw, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and hit the bell as well. I get notifications whenever I upload things. If you like live broadcasts, come on over to my Twitch channel, and if you really like what you see, then go on over to my Patreon and become a patron. Both of those links are in the description below, and I wish you a wonderful, wonderful day.
Fuck. I can't speak right now. God damn it.